and how hard it is to make things look better on our island. I would love to fix that.
Thank you. Mr. Lewis Rosen.
I think cleaning up our neighborhoods with strict code enforcement would be a beginning. I think fixing our streets and our roads and our curbs and our sidewalks would be another one. Make it attractive so folks would want to come here. But I propose declaring the surplus land that is the old Magnolia homes as surplus and asking HUD to release it and selling it to a developer and letting a developer come in and develop whatever the market will bring. I think it's the way to go. It'll increase our tax base, which I think is important, and bring some of these families back. I think there's something like our population is down 9,000 since the 2010 census, excuse me. And also we have something over 5,000 folks that are living on the mainland and working here. If we clean our city up and provide some modern, new construction, it will help.
Thank you, Mr. Greg Ruth.
Can you imagine trying to sell your home where the person you're selling it to knows that their tax rate can go to any level? That is what will happen if Proposition 11 passes. How do you convince people to move here when the tax cap can be blown? You can't do it. You've got to make sure that people's property taxes stay low and reasonable, and that you provide good services with those taxes. We have tax abatement zones that we can create, tourist zones. We can use 4B sales taxes that are already in the pipeline to improve our community to make it more attractive for people to live here. But something that Bo hit on is exactly right. Education is the single biggest determinant in locational choice for families. And I want to tell you something. I've been coming to this island. I've lived here for 12 years, but I've been coming down here since I was a kid. And what breaks my heart living in this town is meeting so many good friends when they get married and they start to say they want to have kids, that they're going to Friendswood and they're going to Pearland, they're going to Lake City. I wish my friends were still here, but they're up there and they took their money with them. We've got to convince people that the schools here are good and that we can have children get a good education here.
Thank you. Okay, back to the council candidates. Okay, city council members have been asked to write a letter of endorsement or opposition to the tax credits funding for McCormick, Barron, Salazar. The letter is due June 1st. If on council, will you endorse, on this letter, will you endorse tax credits? Rusty. Mr. Lane.
Actually, my position in reference to tax credits it's been in the paper. I've been charged like I did something wrong with ethics, so I would not endorse tax credits in this island as it exists today. Our housing stocks are such that we have to clean those housing stocks up first. We have to get them folks back into those units. We don't need to build new additional housing, which majority are off the tax rolls, depending on what. It's so complicated. I've been schooled on this. Very, very difficult. But short tax credits do not pay the full property value. They're using yours and my federal dollars in which to build a structure which is in direct competition with those small mom and pops and large organizations as well, which sometimes make a living out of the rental industry. So no, I would not, and I do not endorse tax credits.
Thank you. Chris Gonzalez.
One thing I swore to do when I started getting involved in city politics was not only to represent my district, but to represent the city as a whole. And so I cannot, by listening to your voices, I cannot support tax credits. And that's what it is. No matter if I believe in it or not, I said I was going to represent everybody and do what was in the best interest of the city. And I don't see tax credits as being in the best interest of the city.
Thank you. Mr. Beatty.
Yes, I would endorse tax credits. I've heard a lot about this housing stock that exists on the island, and so many thousands of them are apparently unlivable. That's a free market undertaking. If you, as a rental purveyor, offers into the market a product that nobody seems to want, and it stays that way for 2 years, I think it's incumbent upon the private owner to do whatever is necessary to get the public to purchase that product. As far as tax credits are concerned, if they can be used to provide affordable, decent quality housing for middle income or even a middle class employees, such as municipal employees, police and fire, I think that would add a lot and start our city on its way to a full recovery. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cheney.
I would vote or support tax credits. Tax credits are one tool in a toolbox to help with development. They're not a bad thing, and you have to look at every opportunity that you have to make sure you can bring forward quality projects.
Thank you. Norman Pappas.
When you have 7,500 vacant and dilapidated homes, low-income tax credits are a bad thing. There have been 7 market studies done on the Galveston housing market. 6 of them said we have a surplus. You do not create an economy that is going to grow and prosper by adding to that surplus. When you add to a surplus, the equilibrium price drops. And if you're running out of property and now you're going to have to charge less, the value of your future rentals drops. And let me see one thing about the slumlord business. Who has the power to certify Section 8 housing in this town? The Galveston Housing Authority. Who has the power to decertify Section 8 housing in this town? The Galveston Housing Authority. If there is a problem with slumlords in this town, it's because the Galveston Housing Authority hasn't been out there decertifying these Section 8 landlords. And that's where the blame lies.
Thank you.
I would not support tax credits. I'm going to use my phone because I received an email on the way here, and it's incredible numbers. There's close to 700 vacant apartments currently in the city right now. 232 at Marina Landings, 204 at Island Bay Resort, 120 vacant units at Bay Walk, and that doesn't include, I guess there's the park at Cedar Lawn that has 102 vacant units. Why do we need more tax credits? To build more property that will, in a mixed income housing, even if you build units that are retail rate, if they're not occupied in 5 years, they can be turned to the voucher program. We have too many already. I would not support it.
Thank you. Mr. Bilal.
I'm not in favor of endorsing the tax credits. I'm not in favor of the 569 units. I'm not in favor of the scattered housing, the mixed income. I understand there's a need for public assistance, and it can be a good thing, but too much of a good thing can be bad for Galveston.
Thank you. Okay, it's mayor time. Is that the same as mayor time? I don't think so. Okay. Somebody thought so. Okay, now this one's back to you. This one's a goodie. Will you kill or maybe tell us how you'll modify the current seawall paid parking plan? And what about how will you protect the adjacent neighborhoods from overflow from the people that don't want to pay? Here you go. We're sharing everything.
Great question. I am looking forward to passing a seawall parking plan. So here's the deal. The GLO has primacy over the issue because they're the ones who manage our beach management plan. And they are the ones under state law that give us the right to charge a reasonable fee up to $8 a day so we can use that money to pick up the litter and make the seawall nice and ADA accessible and things like that. Why should that come out of our tax dollars? We are the beach for the state of Texas, no question. So here's the thing. We passed it. I'm very proud of that. 61% of the vote. And I would like the council and the mayor to take a bow for the leadership we showed in not rushing to judgment and doing it in November. Instead, we waited until May. I think that was a good call. Here's the thing. The GLO will not let us use a third-party provider. And frankly, with the deal we were presented, I wouldn't have voted for it anyway. What a shame that so much of it had to go to the infrastructure plan. It's a good idea, but when we saw the numbers, no way. What I think you're going to see in the next few weeks is a plan that keeps it in-house. It's probably the way it ought to be anyway.
Thank you. Bo Rollins.
Yes, I would currently put a complete halt to what we have proposed in the paid parking. It wasn't even close to the plan that we were presented as voters and that we passed by 61%. Thus, that's why we get our 16-foot aluminum restrooms on the seawall. What's important to me is to have the people that come to visit Galveston visit our businesses. If we can create some type of a sticker system that businesses can buy and sell to people that come into their establishments to buy drinks, ice, what have you, we as a city have collected our money up front. The businesses have an opportunity to provide to our visitors, and we have the ability to hire additional policing to police the neighborhoods so that we don't have an overabundance of parking in front of our homes.
Thank you. Mr. Rosen.
Yeah, the plan wasn't implemented. I don't know how you can have a plan without a way to get it to completion. You think about it, the only way I see it can work is to put kiosks up on the side, up on the seawall, and put some tags on the bottom of the number, and then people come down, if they find a spot, they'll put their money in the kiosk and they'll pay for it for however long they want to be there. The numbers are staggering. If you figure you're going to have about an average 1,000 cars a day up on the seawall, and you think about that each car was going to spend $8, and then you end up for just 300 days a year, pretty soon you're looking at $2,400,000. And I think the city was going to get a couple $100,000 out of the deal. So in other words, another deal that the city just got out financed on.
Thank you. Greg Roof, this one's probably right up your alley. Go ahead.
All right. For 10 years, my position on paid parking on the seawall is that there should be no paid parking on the seawall. The people of Galveston may have voted by 61% for a plan to put paid parking on the seawall, but that plan, it was a joke. The facts that were presented to the voters do not exist. I have another vote that I want you to know about. The people of Texas voted by 77% to amend the Texas Constitution to protect the right of ingress to and egress from the public beach. It is your constitutional right as a Texan to come to the public beach unfettered by the government. Because so many people come here, that provides tax dollars for our city, it provides jobs for our citizens. I want people all over our state to come here and visit Galveston and have a great time here. Now, the severance case that was just decided by the Texas Supreme Court declared some of our West End beaches private. That is very disheartening. Why would we want to stop people from coming to our last open beach on the seawall? We've got to keep it open to promote the economy of Galveston. What I don't understand is why do we spend hundreds of millions of dollars to bring people here in public housing who don't have any money, but we want to charge and nickel and dime people from Houston to come here who do have money? Let's let them run. And we've got to keep our cities free.
Okay, thank you. Well, that's a rabble-rouser, isn't it? We're campaigning here tonight. Okay, here's for the council. This one ought to get some activity too. Would you cut anything from the city budget? If so, what, how, and why? Mr. Legg. Would y'all like to form a committee? We're overloaded with them.
Actually, the budget process in the city of Galveston is extremely difficult, as in any major corporation. This council member and Steve Greenberg, quite frankly, along with a few other council members, took a little better, stronger, proactive course in that budget process this past term. But we need to do a better job. We need to do a much better job. This new council that comes up and mayor that comes up has to be strong, strong business. They need to be able to read a balance sheet. We need to see where the little hidden numbers are. Because quite frankly, we are discovering a lot of hidden numbers. So we're going to have to step up, make our staff accountable. And so cutting the budget, you can't say I'm going to cut the budget here, without going through the budget process. So that's a really kind of unfair question to be on the first one asked again. But, but the budget has to be streamlined. There is some hidden numbers there, quite frankly, that we need to get a grasp on.
Thank you. And now, Chris Gonzalez, let's get a grasp on that one.
I want to bring you back to the 2011 budget year, when I was the only candidate or the only council member that voted not to approve that budget, because I said there was a lot of padding in there, because I said with all the cuts they wanted to do, we could meet those numbers in other areas. We didn't have to do the cuts to our public safety, our police and our fire. So we could meet those numbers. We could get the budget we needed to get to without having to do that. If we need to do cuts, yes, I can. But I explore every aspect of that budget. I look at it line item for line item. I know exactly what's in that budget, and I knew we had issues. And that's why I went on to go ahead and question those that were in charge, our city manager, our finance director. Right now, we have investigations going on right now to find out exactly what else is wrong with city government. That's what I bring to the table. I have 10 years at City Hall, I have 13 years at the county. I know city and government, okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Beatty.
In the budget process, once the numbers have been verified, the line items and what the inclusions in that have been verified, I think the budget should always be scrutinized for waste. And I think that there probably are wasteful items in our budget. I don't know so much that the budget needs to be cut, but I think that we need to do a more judicious job of applying what we have to what we want the budget to accomplish. So, careful scrutiny, judicious spending. I think the budget is adequate as it is, but we have to be careful with the way we use it and the monies we spend.
Thank you, Diana Buchanan.
In any budget, there's the opportunity to reduce that budget. As a former employee at UTMB and a retiree from that great institution, I took a department that had 150 employees, and over 15 years, we went down to 95 employees and did more work than we did when we had the 150. It takes a lot to streamline a budget. You have to address your priorities first and then look at how you are going to meet those priorities. And that's where the bulk of your budget can go, and then you have to look at services you have to provide. There's always an opportunity to reduce the budget.
Thank you. Norman Babu.
First of all, I'd like to lodge a protest. Greg Roof got a seawall parking question. Come on. They say that a cynic is somebody who knows the price of everything and the value of nothing. And I have to say, I don't think anybody in here would mind paying the taxes they pay if they got the value for those dollars. So when you ask, where are you going to cut? I'm going to say I'm not going to cut anywhere. But what I am going to do is I'm going to make sure that every department, and every sub-department, and every person has a performance rating. And we did that at GISD with the teachers. You know what else we did at GISD? We just let 90 teachers go. They weren't all fired, some took early retirement. I don't want to do that again. What I want to do is get the most for every dollar that you all give. I don't want to lay off a single person in this administration. And that's what would happen if you went along and started cutting big chunks. We have to get more out of what we have.
Thank you, Marie Rod.
We need to look at all the departments of the city. I think we need, when you can have a traffic department where people are getting 2-3 times what their annual salary is, something is wrong. But the first thing that I would look at cutting is, I think the city spends excessive amount of money on consultants. If I look at meetings that I've sit in for the erosion response plan, let's say, or the group that is looking at the code with Progress Galveston, HDR, the company that is doing the consulting, will come into any given meeting with 6 people, one of which participates in the meeting, 6 of which are billing. I think we lose an excessive amount of money on all the many consultants that we've used in different areas. So that's one area I would look at. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike Mayoral.
Well, I think it's important that we review, like she said, I think it's important we review all the different departments and see what their spending is. I think we need to take the current budget as well as past budgets, look at them and see what kind of wasteful spending has been done. as they said, we can always cut, but you don't want to cut personnel because then you cut services. So I think it's important to review the budget, see what's wrong with the budget, see what kind of wasteful spending we have, and see what we can cut there.
Thank you. Well, yes, you know, that was a very direct and potentially tough question, but I think you all gave some very thoughtful answers to that, because that opens up a lot of territory, okay? And you're thinking about it and you're doing your homework. And congratulations to you gentlemen too, as well. Now, Mr. Beatty earlier mentioned the comprehensive plan, and Marie mentioned paying consultants and doing studies and so on and so forth. This is for the mayors. There are a number of plans and studies existing to improve the city that have been developed over the years but have not been implemented, or sometimes only partially reviewed. What do you consider to be the most relevant and beneficial, i.e., let's say, the original comprehensive plan, for example, and do you intend to go forward with the recommendations in these? And you can refer to any of the other long-range plans and study recommendations you're familiar with.
The one that comes to mind right away is the downtown redevelopment plan, which actually is an appendix to the comprehensive plan. We voted that and appended it. What I liked about the downtown plan is that it was both a visioning document, but it was also an implementation strategy. Now, some of them we're not going to be able to do, but some of them we sure can. And it gives us guidance, like the realization that we have so much hot, unused concrete parking lots downtown. We know from other examples that are very successful that people like to see water and green when they're walking around. So if you want feet on the street, if you want retail success downtown, you've got to make it a pleasing experience as you approach it, not by car, but by foot. So that's a plan that I think had a specific attribute to it that worked, an implementation strategy. And I would say that whenever we contract with a consultant, we say, and let the last page be, how do we get it done?
Thank you. Mr. Rollins.
To the citizens of Galveston, we've offered a ton of lip service in the last few years. I'd like to turn that into reality. We've made a bunch of broken promises, and we always relate it back to, well, is it in the comprehensive plan? Barbara Roberts assigned me to the comprehensive plan to represent her when she was there on council. We started with a very excited, energetic group of people that felt like they could make a difference. But then as time goes by, that went down to half the group, and then a quarter of the group. Then I-Kids, and we have 150 people on the comprehensive plan that are excited. It's eventually got whittled down to about a group of 10 people that created a comprehensive plan for the entire citizens of Galveston. My biggest thing is this: we've got to get something done and stop talking about it.
Thank you. Mr. Rosen.
We need to address our zoning, and we need to combine a lot of zones and overlays. We need to take our 800 action, 76 project comprehensive plan, and we need to think about how complicated that is. I think we need to have a new comprehensive plan that will take care of our state mandate. And I'd like to call it the KISS plan. It's simple. Keep it simple, stupid. It'll help us get our city back up and running again.
Thank you. Greg Roof.
In my 18 years of teaching, I've been presented many comprehensive long-range plans by my administration. Every one of them is sitting in the garbage can right now. I have a view on being mayor. If I'm elected, I'm not going to be mayor very long. 2, 4, maximum 6 years. I don't believe that any mayor can come up with a master plan for the city. I don't believe any city council member can come up with a master plan. What I would feel very successful in doing is if I can incrementally add a few things to this city that are positive, so that when I leave, someone comes up to me and says, hey, Ruth, you did something a little bit better for the city than when you got there. If I can just improve some of the streets while I'm the mayor for 2 years, if I could just improve some of our infrastructure, if I can make connections to GISD so we can improve the schools a little bit, if I can help improve our economy, if I can come up with a regional solution with other cities for public housing, then I will feel like I did something good for my city. And any public official is only there for a small time.
Thank you. I'm going to read this one and not really expect an answer, but y'all can make faces if you want to. It's kind of humorous, and I don't know that there's anything you could do about it, but it is, you know, a late-breaking question that came in tonight from a guest right here in their own handwriting. And it says, why did I have to stop at 4 red lights between 45th and 21st on Broadway? Let's call the traffic division. They may be working on it overtime. Okay, this one's for the council members. This is a good one. This is very you're getting some real thoughtful ones here. I like this one. Okay. What should take precedence in your voting decisions? The city's existing ordinances, rules, and regulations, or a random sampling of voters, neighbors, and your gut feeling? To whom do you have the most responsibility? Your resident district or your fellow council members? Mr. Ladd.
Well, actually, I kind of previously stated my stance on that. You have to take a combination of all. You have to look at the ordinances. Some, quite frankly, don't make sense. You have to speak to individuals who will be directly affected by it, which would be you, the public, as well as the council members. You have to investigate it, talk about it, and then make a decision. The best decision you can make with information that you have at your hand. So it's seek out information from all areas, make a common sense decision. If that's a good ordinance, bad ordinance, and take into account what everybody else has told you. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Gonzalez.
That was very well said. You have to look at you have to look at every single aspect of what's going on there. I would probably add that my resident district would get a majority of what my thought process is on that, and mainly talk about it. Let's see if they're truly informed on what the issue is. Because what I've come to learn over these last 2 years is there's so many times that the viewers, the readers, the ones that are doing, really don't have all the information available to them. So mine would be to make sure that they are totally informed, that they have the same information I have, and then when we get to that point, that we come up with the same views. And like I said, we looked at with the other council members, with the mayor, you know, hopefully get the city staff right to where they're giving us valid information and pointing us in the right direction. And with all of that, that's where we make our final decision from.
All right, Mr. Beatty.
When are we going to stop investigating it and talking about it and trying to determine it and start doing it? We have stalled in our recovery. We have the plans, we have money, we have the vision supposedly, but we don't have the will to actually do anything. We've got, as I said before, we've got people in my district who have been out of their homes for several months, and their homes are supposed to be under reconstruction, okay? How long does this go on? How long are we going to investigate this, talk about it, and do nothing about it? I think we need to start thinking in terms of concrete measures to move Galveston forward and to complete the recovery that we so need, because believe it or not, the next storm is on its way.
Thank you. Okay, let's talk about it. Mr. Chetty.
Thank you. Just for informational purposes, the city is undergoing a revision of the codes and all of our ordinances, and culminating in a land use plan for the city. So keeping it simple is underway. The whole reason for that process is to streamline the codes and the activities and to improve the permitting process and all of those issues that we brought up at one time or another this evening. When you're a seated council member, you have to look at the issues not only from your district's point of view, but for what's best for the city as a whole.